What's up, everybody? Now that the market has finally decided to make a little bit of a move, I just decided I would show some of the things that I'm seeing now, do some analysis for you. I mean, maybe it'll help you. Um, I'm going to show some things that are pretty obvious in hindsight, but also that are obvious currently. But before I do that, don't forget, even though I don't do videos all the time, because I do have a job, I have a full-time job, I try to do it as much as I can, but sometimes especially if the market's not doing anything, I just don't post anything. But I do have, if you go to @bike for sale on X, which of course that was once Twitter, you can see a lot of plays that I'm posting. I've got a bunch of plays that I called ahead of time that, if you're looking for whether you do leverage or not, I mean, even some of these are spot plays, but just check them out. You can hit the little follow button and see any of my plays. And I'm going to go over a few of these just to show my thought process, might help you. All right, so getting into Bitcoin, I don't like to cover this too much because I don't really trade Bitcoin. I trade altcoins. But sometimes we do need to look at Bitcoin just to see what the overall market could do in the future. And one thing I want to point to here, back in 2019 to 2020, when the COVID crash happened, you can see, I mean, this is a very unique structure here. And I'm starting to notice that it looks a lot, it looks very similar to what's going on currently, except this one's just more flat. So number one, without even regarding this over here, if we make this bigger, I mean, it's clear that this, like if we would have seen this right here, it's clear that this is a bear flag, especially now. But based on where it was heading into, all this resistance up here, which was once support, it clearly rejected twice. And that's just a typical bear flag there. You've got rising price action with momentum coming down on here on the RSI. And I don't really use RSI as much anymore, but I know a lot of you can't use Market Cipher because it costs money. But if we pulled up Market Cipher here, it gives even more information. And I'll show you one other indicator or a couple other indicators that might help. So, I mean, clearly everybody can see you're going up, price action, you're going down. What just happened there? Oh, you're going down here on your momentum. And that's just a typical, bearish divergence. Everybody's seen those. But these things take a while to play out in a week. We're looking at a weekly chart here. They take a while to actually, play out what they're going to do. But once you got that candle closed below this, well, I say it's especially under all of this resistance here. Once this candle started closing below these wicks on a smaller time frame, like a daily, like right there, you started to get some candles that were below the resistance there. So you knew this was going to come down at least one more time. And I don't know what's going to happen from here. I mean, if I'm looking at a weekly chart, I would say that it looks like momentum is still heading to the downside on a long term. But if you look at short term, it could still come up. You might get like a head and shoulders. You could even get a fake out up here, another swing failure pattern where you get another wick, maybe even as high to here as the, this previous breakdown that it had. Of course, that would take many weeks for it to reach something like that. But, you could see, it wouldn't surprise me to see anything from, 32K to 36K. It's not that wild for something like that to take place. I would just think, since this resistance hasn't been tested a lot, it's probably going to send it down one more time. And there's a lot of room for it to come down. And then the obvious areas, of course, are where these order blocks were down below, 22K. There's a big support level here at 20K. So if I was taking a guess, I would suspect that it's going to come down here somewhere. But short term, if you're looking like on a daily chart or something, we are into the green a little bit on the money flow. And let me just bring up that other indicator I was going to show you. If you search MACD custom indicator multiple time frame by Chris Moody, you could kind of use these, anytime you're with a zero level of the MACD, which that's the zero line right there, things are pretty bullish. Of course, if you drop below, that's not good. But this particular indicator it makes it easy for you because it shows you where the crosses are happening with a green dot, or where the cross down happens with a red dot. So, you could take these on a spot play or something. I don't know that I would use it on anything on a daily chart for leverage, because when you do leverage, you really have to use shorter time frames, like I don't know, at least 1 hour or lower, in my opinion. I mean, you could use 3 hour, it'd probably work. But, this is too slow moving on a daily chart to be using something like this unless you're doing spot. I would never use leverage on a daily chart. It's just too slow. Because you can get wiped out on your stop loss is the reason I'm saying that. So yeah, check out that. There's another one I've mentioned before called Divergence for Many Indicators V4. And this one does a pretty good job of finding bottoms and tops. So if you want to check that one out, you can. But I'd say the most important thing is finding your support resistance lines. That's by far, that and price action are the most important, like price structure. And when I say that, I mean like, you had a support level right here where all of these candle bodies, I mean, I'm not really talking about the wicks necessarily, but all of these candle bodies were respecting this support area here. And the reason why I have 3 lines there is because support on a daily chart is a large area. It's kind of a block. It's not just one line. But once you got this candle that closed below into all of these wicks right here, then that was your signal that things were probably coming down. And this doesn't look too bad. I mean, if you want to take this area right here and just say that that's a resistance level, if it gets back above that again, I mean, that's looking pretty good. I mean, you could even bring this down and say, okay, here's some more. That was once resistance and it broke through it. There's that big candle. And then it came down and retested it. So I do think it's probably going to come back up here somewhere. And of course, if you get a candle that closes back above here and holds, then that's when you probably get another move further up. And I'm not ruling out that, that we can't just start going up from here. If we look back at, let me look back historically here. If we look back historically and bring up something like market Cipher, it's clear that, yes, there was a point where momentum started coming up here while it was going down here. It was just kind of squeezing like a triangle. And you'll see that in previous cycles as well. And so once that happens, then eventually you'll start getting more bullish divergences. This was coming down on price action, and you got a green dot right here that was higher than this momentum wave, and you're in the green as far as your money flow goes. So this was a point where you could have said, okay, I'm taking this spot long right here. And as long as money flow is in the green, I'm just going to stay in this thing. And that's a long-term play. I don't think I would do that if I was leverage long on on a smaller time frame, because you have to watch for things like, bearish divergences and stuff like that while you're still in green money flow. So the reason why I bring this up is this happens over and over. Trying to get this circle out of the way. And this structure here is starting to look a lot like this structure here. Our halving is going to happen about right here, April 2024. So somewhere in this area. And the halving back in 2020, I don't know exactly where it was. It was probably, no, that was probably too late there. I don't know. I'd have to look back. I'm not going to look that up. We know that the halving happens before a big breakout happens on a macro scale. So it was probably somewhere in here. But the reason why I'm talking about this is you're going to get some sideways action. You're going to get some, maybe a fake up and a fake down. They can do anything like what they did right here prior to a move up, a breakout up. And here was your back then here was your major resistance, I would say. And then it broke out of it, but there was some more over here as well. But once it got out of this range here, that's when it took off. And I've actually got this on a presidential. Let me see this. I like to bring this up sometimes. We haven't looked at it in a bit. And I've got some really good things in this video that I'm going to show you. So, stick around. I hope it's not mundane for you. I want you to be able to see this stuff and be able to do it for yourself, or just follow my charts. That's fine too. So here we are right here. Here was our real breakout from this, the previous high. But like I said, this was the breakout that had a lot of resistance to it right here. And that's when the bull run really started. So 2020 US president elected, that's when the real breakout happened of this previous high, of the all-time high back in 2017. And so I'm expecting something very similar to happen. If you look at this little indicator here, it's kind of, it's trying to come up and get green and red at the same time. So that's why I'm thinking we're just going to have some sideways for a bit, but we still got a ways to go. Let's see how many days that is. We still got pretty much a year. And when that happens, that's usually when this high gets taken out. I mean, I've got the breakout level back down here, but that's because there is some resistance there. That's the first breakout that needs to happen to really get the bull run started. And I mean, there's a lot of narratives out there, right? That, maybe we're going to have a lower high this time and it's going to be a recession and depression that causes us to, to not have a big momentum breakout like we've had in the past. And it is getting, what's the word? It's getting smaller and smaller. You've seen those little ellipse looking things. Let me see if I can find one. You've seen that red pattern or rainbow pattern where it shows, I'll just use this, where it shows it kind of losing momentum over time. And I understand that. I mean, that's it makes sense that it's just eventually going to roll over on itself on a much longer time frame. But I still think that we're probably going to see between 100, I don't know, 100,000 to 125,000. The reason why 100,000 is so important is because it's that mental barrier. It's definitely not going to break 100,000 right off the bat if it does get up there. Okay. So that's the presidential chart there. I usually post it on my Twitter every once in a while, so you can check it out if you want. When it breaks this line eventually, I think this will kind of just get tighter and tighter. And all this is a fear greed index thing. So right now it's actually, people are kind of fearful. Greedy is the red up here when it gets above this blue line. Fearful is below this one. So, if anything, right now is probably more time to buy, but I think we will get a better opportunity to buy by next month. Okay, so let's close that one. And I am going to get into some alts, by the way. And anytime, if y'all want to request some alts in my Twitter, feel free to. I'll go over them. Yeah, so that's pretty much it on Bitcoin. I think I am going to move to some alts now, or some other charts at least. I don't think there's anything else I want to say other than, if you take your Fibonacci here, these are the numbers I'm looking for on the trip back down. And that was that 22K area and the 20K area, with a chance that, they could try to scare people and, come down here to the 786. They're going to create fear, right? I mean, they're trying to get people to act opposite of what they would normally act if they had all the information. And most of if you've heard me before, I think markets are fake. I mean, they're laundering fake money and all kind of stuff through it. There's no way all the action's organic. All right. Let's see. So we'll go to some alts here. I've showed you this chart before. This is the total 3 chart, which is just altcoins. Doesn't include, well, actually, it doesn't include ETH either. It includes everything but Bitcoin and ETH. And then it basically divides it by what Bitcoin's doing. And so what I was expecting is for it to keep coming down, and it has so far. But what I would say is this: there is an area of support right here. It was once resistance right there, and there's an area of support. So I could see a situation where it just goes back up for a bit to about right here and then comes back down, maybe even makes a little head and shoulders and then comes down. I mean, even if we do get a bull run, Bitcoin usually is the first one to go and, make a big move. And then ETH would follow, and then all of the alts would follow. It happens every cycle. It's going to go like that. So even if Bitcoin takes off, sometimes it takes a little while for alts to take off. And I'm going to show that here. This was one of my favorite ones, my favorite charts that I had found. Let me just get rid of this stuff here. We're not going to need that. I really want to show you how I discover these. And I'll start from the very beginning. So I've got a list of different like KuCoin coins and MEXC coins, ones that are maybe lower market cap that could move quicker. Of course, they're more risky too. The faster it can go up, the faster it can go down. So you have to be careful. And I do play leverage on these. So, you got to trade responsibly doing that. But what I'll do is I'll check and I'll say, okay, what coins are at least 30% up or so. Usually I want to see like 50% up on the day. But this is a start. There's a good chance these could get to 50% in the day or 50% by tomorrow. And so this was one of the ones. I mean, this was like 3 or 4 days ago. I was looking at this one. I mean, it's actually up 23% today as well. But I just wanted to show you this is how I find them. And then on the flip side, if I see one that's way down like this, which we can actually bring this one up. Yeah, so it's way down. I mean, you could look at, setting your support resistance areas based on where it rejected and based on where it found support. I mean, you'll get better at it as you do it, but it's really not that hard. I mean, this one wicked right down to here. So if it was to come back down to the support area, I think it would be pretty safe to put a buy here. And the reason for that is you can set your stop loss pretty tight. So that's really what you're trying to do when you play these sideways action coins. Is if it comes down to here, you would buy, and then you would set your stop loss somewhere down there safe. Really, you'd probably have to set it under here somewhere, not to get stopped out. I mean, if you got a candle close below this line, you'd probably want to get out regardless, even if it didn't hit your stop. But then you would play it on the trip back up, and you might take your profit somewhere up here before the line. And then if it kept doing that, you just keep playing it like that. It's really not that difficult, but you do have to be patient. So getting back to ASTRA, I just want to show you what I saw. First thing I do, of course, is I set all of my. I really start on the monthly, and I set all of my support resistance areas, and then I'll go down to lower time frames in the local price action, and I'll set some more. And at the time, on the weekly chart, I also did this. I did this little down channel because I wanted to see when it broke out of it, because I felt a lot better about entering along once it was actually, once a candle closed above that. Otherwise, it's just not worth playing this coin unless maybe you wait till the bottom. If it was to get to the bottom of this channel and then enter, I guess that could work, but it's just a lot safer to wait for the breakout. Okay, so here on Market Cipher, there wasn't really enough information at the time when I first looked at it. So really, I was truly waiting for a move up above out of this little channel that I drew. And typically when I'm looking for a breakout, I have to go to a much lower time frame. You can't just look at your daily. especially if you're looking to leverage. And so let's say if I was looking at the 3-hour, this candle is now out of this channel that I drew on a much higher time frame. And so I'm feeling a lot better about this. But even when it was back here, and with Market Cipher, which Market Cipher is very powerful if you can learn how to use it. But again, it costs a lot of money. So I know a lot of people can't afford it. So I'm happy to show this and try to, oh, actually, now that I'm thinking about that, there is a free one that's very similar to it. And I've mentioned this one before, but it's called Fu Manchu. So you can get this Fu Manchu Cipher B plus divergences. And I'll just show you how similar they are. I changed some of the colors of mine, but look how similar these momentum waves are. The only thing that people really don't like about Fu Manchu is the money flow color. It's not as thick, so it's not as easy to see. You really have to zoom it in to see it. But the little dots and everything, they're really similar. And so really what you're looking for is your bearish and bullish divergences, so that you get a good risk to reward on your entry, whether it's a long or a short. All right, so I'll just show you here. I mean, let's say that I wasn't even waiting for the breakout and I didn't have any support levels or anything, which I highly recommend you always do. But if I saw this money flow starting to taper up, so we're going from red to green money flow, you're usually going to get a big move when you go from red to green. And that's exactly what happened there, but it rejected again. So you could have taken, I mean, this was kind of a bullish divergence, but really price action wasn't necessarily coming down at the same time. It was just kind of going flat. What I like to see is I'm looking for, like, if, say, for example, if money flow is red and I have a tight red dot to the line here, really, this is a tight one right here. It's real tight to this zero line. But anytime you're in a red money flow situation, you usually want to be looking for shorts anyway. So this whole area, I probably wouldn't have been considering a long, and that's why I was waiting for the breakout. But then finally you got this right here, and this is, let's see if this works. So yeah, that's not really a bullish divergence either, because price action wasn't coming down, but you did get a tight momentum wave here to your green money flow. But it wasn't like, if you were looking at it right there, you wouldn't have seen it just yet. So really what I would have done is I would have waited, and I wasn't watching back, back during, it hadn't popped up on my watch list yet. So I didn't know about this, but you can clearly see it got into green money flow, thick money flow here. And what I like to see on this is, if I miss this move, I'm going to wait till it comes back down below the zero line and gives me a green dot. And if money flow is still thick and not declining, then I'll usually take that trade. And you did get I mean, that's pretty much a bearish divergence there, but you're still in thick money flow and it's not really declining at this point. And then you got another tight green dot. I mean, that's another big signal to go long, because the momentum just took off again. Like, it didn't give it any time to come down. So you knew that it was about to take off again. And that is sort of a bullish divergence, but not really. It's more like a triangle that broke out. And so where would I have exited this trade? On the 3-hour chart, I don't like it as much. I would like to go down to a lower time frame, like a 45 or 15 minute. But you would have gotten your signal probably about right there. But see, that's too late. Yeah, that's why, as I'm into a big trade as it's going up, I'm going to step down to a 45 minute. And so now if we look at this, we clearly, I mean, it's really obvious we got a bearish divergence there, because price was coming up while momentum was coming down. And you could have waited a little while, but I know money flow was still thick, but it was clearly starting to come down a lot. It was rolling over at least by here. I mean, at the very least, you would have gotten out there and saved some of those profits that you got. So now what are we looking at with it? Well, I posted on my Twitter here. Let me find it. So number one, I posted a thing here that said, it's looking good. It's going up. I was already in the trade at this point. I said, I'm hoping that it gets above this line and just keeps going. But if it doesn't, and it looks like it's starting to get some weakness, I'm going to get out of it. And I said on the next post, I said, I close this trade for now, starting to show a weakness. And that was like 6 hours after I posted that first thing. And I just want to show you, kind of the timeline of how I was describing this. And so this is what played out. It came down to the support level, and this would have been a really good purchase. And then it broke out of this downtrend line, retested it. So there was 2 points there to purchase, and you could have gotten out right there if you wanted to, for a quick profit. And that's on a 45-minute chart. So that would have only taken, 4 or 5 hours or less. And then I just wanted to remind people, get used to these sideways patterns. This was before any breakout of this coin. I said, get used to these sideways patterns because it could happen again like that, like it did previously back in 2019 before the big breakout. And unfortunately, I was sleeping while this breakout happened, but I'm going to show you what happened after that, what I did. So last night I did take a long at this support line, but I think I got out before I went to sleep. I don't really like having trades open while I'm asleep. And it just so happened that it finally took off. Well, how could you have caught this is probably what you're asking. I mean, you had red money flow there, but it was starting to taper. So you could have taken that green dot right there. This would have been a signal to go. But on the 15-minute, you would have had an even better signal, I'm sure. Yeah, you would have crossed red to green right there. You could have taken it on that. I mean, you really have to be sitting at your computer almost nonstop to see stuff like this, especially on a 15-minute chart. But this was a little bit tougher. I liked this, though. I like to see it have at least a pause. I mean, this would have been a short signal, really, because it was tight to the line. But then this was tight to this line. The only problem was it was, of course, still in the red. But, that right there was a divergence because price action was coming down while it was going up. So you could have taken that one, but admittedly, it was a tough one. One thing that would have given you extra confidence is, it broke out of this downtrend line right there. And what I did, by the way, since I missed this trade, it broke out. I didn't chase it. What I did is I took a short instead to make some money when I saw this happen. But those are risky too. I mean, it could have just kept going on me. Let's see if I can find what I was looking at. I think I might have been looking at this 45-minute chart. Yeah, I think I was looking at this 45-minute chart and I thought, well, it's way above the overbought line and I have a red. No, it couldn't have been that one. It had to be the 15-minute. Yeah, here it is. Okay. So you're way above the line. This is kind of like the overbought line. And so I was just thinking it was way overheated. So when I got a red dot there, I took this, and I think on leverage, I probably did like, I don't remember where I took it really. It was somewhere, I probably got 5% if you were doing spot, but I got, I don't know, 50% because I was doing, leverage, 10x leverage, which is fairly safe. I mean, 10x leverage isn't bad, but only do it if you're experienced. Get some experience first. So let me just look at some coins I haven't looked at before, and I'll show you. And this one's really already taken off, but you could look at it for a short. You're looking for coins that have a lot of volatility. You don't want to be waiting for a coin that's just going sideways forever, unless you've determined a pattern. And let me show you what that looks like. This is another one I shared on my Twitter. I thought this was really interesting because it looks a lot like the psychology of a market cycle for this new coin. And this is one I would probably watch for the next bull run. You want to find something that's real low market cap, probably at least below 200 million market cap, because those are the coins that can really move once they get going. And really, you don't have to put much money into them usually. I've seen people put $100 in a coin before, and by the end of the bull run, a year and a half later, they've made a lot of money off of it. But what I want to illustrate here is look how many times this thing has gone up and down in this channel. It's just, I want to show you the power of leverage and the power of, being disciplined and just playing the bounces. So if you would have bought here and sold there, that's roughly 20% times 10 would be 200% profit. I mean, even if you did 5x leverage, it would still be 100% profit. And you could even take the short all the way back down. But I can't even count how many times this thing's done this. I don't know, like 6. Well, I mean, you could have taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You could have done about 9 trades on that, up and down. And the thing that makes it great is, since you know your support resistance lines, you could just set a stop loss. And usually I would be careful setting it even just under the wicks. I would set it about 5% down from the line, and that'll be usually pretty safe. And on the short side, same thing here. You can set it about 5% up for your stop loss I'm talking about. And this is what I meant by, if you take a long down here, try to set your take profit area below this line somewhere, maybe even 5% under it, just because they're not always going to hit it exactly, especially as it does this more and more. Usually it gets tighter and it forms a triangle, and then it either breaks out or breaks down out of that triangle. Yeah, so I think that's a really good lesson. And you'll get all this from doing it more and more. And some of you that listen, you may be real experienced and you're just looking for some trades. So let me just run through some here to end this. I don't want to make it too long. And I'll try to show some market cipher things too. So here's our 15-minute chart. I mean, just make sure you're always stepping out to the the big picture first, whether it's a daily or a weekly. Usually I'll start on a weekly or a monthly. We could look at the monthly here. And then I'll just find, at the very least, I'll find these local support resistance areas. And all I'm looking for, by the way, is areas that it came down to, and there's at least a couple of candles and maybe a wick that are touching. Because that told you that the bears had lost their momentum, and now it's gonna have some fairly strong support there. Same thing happened here. And then on the resistance side, bulls lost momentum there. And see how that coincides. Really, I would start from left to right, but see how that coincides with previous price action. This was a support level that then turned into resistance later on. So if you go left to right, start with the very first candle, see how there's a bunch of them clustered together there. And then up here, there's some clustered together, a lot of wicks there. It doesn't have to be difficult, just, keep it simple. That's fairly good. It's pretty good. It's probably too many lines, to be honest. And then once you do that, you can still come in here and do like do some kind of downtrend resistance or something and watch for the breakout. Usually you want to look for a hill right here that has at least 4 candles below this level on the left and right. So you could take it from here. I don't really know. I mean, there's so many here. It's almost creating a resistance line that you could do something like this. And you just have to play with it, and it's pretty close anyway. But then you can go down to a lower time frame and really dial it in when you do something like that. So probably I'll just line it up with this one because it's the closest one to the previous one that I did. I think I accidentally moved that one. And sometimes you can line it up, you can kind of bring it up to these wicks. That's pretty close. But see, you could have also made one here. There's something going on here as well, where there's a lot of resistance right there. And then it finally broke down, and now it got back above it. So, here's kind of a major line probably. and this is a shorter term line, so it could hold this, maybe come down a little bit, and then come up here and touch resistance. Right now, it's kind of working on this resistance, but that's a legit move. I could see that happening for sure. I don't know that I would mess with this one. There's probably not enough action on it just yet. If anything, I'd be looking at a short, but just be careful with it because these things can take off. You have to be at your computer watching it. Yeah, I don't really like this one for, well, let's look at a couple higher time frames, just see. Okay, this is a really good example, actually. Here's what I like about Market Cipher. We're already in the green money flow. I really like it when these are tight like this. And the creator will actually tell you that crypto face guy, he'll tell you that if you see these green dots that are real tight to the momentum line, maybe it just comes down for a second and then gives you a green dot. That's a great long signal. Same thing here. And so everything still looks good. I mean, money flow is going up on a 3 hour. So really, at most, I could just see like a quick short possibly. And it has come down a little bit on the 45-minute here, but you're still getting that tight green dot here. So it's too risky really to be taking a short. Yeah, I don't really see anything here. What's one that had gone up a lot recently? I know Bake did, but it already came down. I don't know. I still like Astra for, I think there may be some opportunities to short this one still. But just, watch my Twitter. I don't care about clicks. I don't care about people following me on Twitter, but the only reason I'm mentioning it is if you're interested in, finding some good plays that I'm playing. I mean, these are ones that I'm actually doing, then definitely follow me because then you'll get that notification. I'm just trying to help people. I'm not trying to make any money off of this. So yeah, just check it out on my Twitter. I don't really know that there's anything else going on currently. I mean, I could definitely step down to like a 5-minute chart and show you something, but it's not really going to help you because I don't think it's very smart to be going to any time frame under 15-minute. And even then you can get in a lot of trouble. So if you're new to trading, stick to like daily and 3 hour. If we were to look at the daily on this one, momentum still climbing up. The money flow is tapering, so that's good. Probably means it's going to continue. Actually, this isn't the one that has my support resistance lines. Okay, here we go. All right, here's our daily, had our breakout. Here's the resistance line that I had drawn. It pretty much rejected right off of it. So one thing you could do if you're really interested in trying to play this coin, which don't get married to any coin. I mean, there's plenty of, there's 11, 12, 13,000 different coins out there, probably more that you can play. But if you wanted to, there is the opportunity, we're starting to see a pattern here where it might just go sideways for a while. So if it comes back down here to the support line or this support line, you could take another long, or maybe it comes all the way back down here. You could have drawn another line right here where it broke out. Maybe it completely retests this breakout. You could take a long there and then, just sell it on the way back up at these resistance lines. There's plenty of opportunity there to continue to make money. But again, you have to be patient. I'm just going to see if there's anything I can find for you here. 6 hour looks great. See how the green dots are just kind of lining up and increasing momentum there. And if you were to see something like this, where it rolls over and there's a red dot right here, which is lower than the previous one, then it's likely that price is topping out somewhere up here. And then that's a signal to get ready for a short. But on a 6 hour, it would present itself much earlier on a 1 hour or even a 45-minute. So you want to be watching lower time frames once you just want to kind of have a plan, right? So if this was my plan, and money flow was still coming up, but then it started rolling over here, and I saw a red dot, and that was a bearish divergence because price was still going up. Then I would definitely be going down to lower time frames and saying, okay, where's my bearish divergences here? Or has the money flow started going into the red already on the lower time frames? Just remember that the lower time frames are the things that affect the longer time frames. Those are the things, the waves that happen at the lower time frames that are going to cause the the bullish nature of the 6-hour or the daily chart, or the bearish nature of it. It's almost like you're getting delayed information on like a longer time frame, 6-hour, daily, weekly, whatever. And that's why, as a leverage trader, I like to look at these lower time frames. They're much more important to me. But again, you got to have support resistance. You could have played this up and down a bunch once you knew your support resistance. Now that it's broken above that one, you can play this support resistance, these two right here. If it gets back below these, then you could either play these again or play this one to that one. There's a lot of different things you can do. Okay, well, I have a lot of things going on. I'm talking to some people that we might be starting a new, like a free crypto YouTube thing. And they're very good at market analysis. So I'm hoping to be able to bring stuff like that to you soon. And I've got some other things I'm thinking about doing. So as I have time, I'll be increasing the content here on the channel. Okay. Well, hopefully that helps somebody. Again, reach out to me here on the YouTube comments, or you can reach out to me at Twitter if you have any requests, whatever. I'll definitely look at it for you. I'll give you real-time information. We can do live if you want. Y'all tell me what you want to do. And, leave a like down there if you want. And we'll see you next time. Appreciate it.